Okay, so we've still got a couple people who are coming in from the waiting room, but we're going to get started pretty shortly. First and foremost, I want to introduce a couple of people. Chris and Terry Lynn Fowler, you guys can probably like wave or yell or something like that. They're going to be monitoring the chat. Just to try and be respectful of everyone's time, if you have questions, please put them in the chat, and Terry Lynn and Chris will do the moderation and ask the questions on your behalf, but we're not going to do kind of verbal questions unless it's absolutely necessary this time, just to be respectful of everyone's time. But I just want to, before we get started, I just want to acknowledge Richie. Richie's the reason why we're all here in such great numbers and why we continue to grow each week. I think Richie went on and did a live on TikTok this morning with 400 new people. So that was amazing to see the impact of that. So thank you very much. But yeah, I'll throw it over to Richie and then we'll get underway.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Gavin. I appreciate all your work too, buddy. As everybody knows, this is not just a one-person show. So there's many people that are working behind this, and we're all a part of that as well. So I want to acknowledge that as well. I'm just the guy that and took the stand. So about 4 years ago in 2020, but because of the pandemic, it shut it down. So before all of that, Gavin asked me to say a little something before we started the meeting. And, when this idea actually came to me 4 years ago, I wrote basically a letter on what I considered which was important for family law reform to take place in Canada, because this is where our rally was going to be focused on at that time. But again, because of the pandemic being, the way it was and everything being shut down, courts, whatnot, here we are today, 2024, going to do it this year on April 24th. So again, I want to read this letter to you because, again, it outlines a lot of things that, I read this letter this morning and I was going to read it on my live, but I decided to wait till now to do it because it outlines things that are still happening today. And, there's this ton of awareness out there, and I'm not taking away from anybody that's out there throwing the awareness out that, about parental alienation and false allegations and the rise that it's happening in our family court systems everywhere. I'm not taking away from that. What I want people to really focus on is that, this has happened for decades. So what are we going to do about it? Because nothing is happening, and we all know that. So this is what I read. This is what I wrote a few years back. So the majority of the people who are about to read this, you will not know my name. I am not a celebrity. I am not a motivational speaker, and I'm not perfect. What I am is I am a father, just like millions around the country. Now, the cause and effect that the family court system has on society continues to rise, and our governments and lawmakers for decades have chosen to ignore this issue. Now, this report is based on facts, public polls, and stories from the people that this has affected by the injustices of the family court system. Family law reform is critical, and we cannot continue to ignore this problem, as millions of children are being torn from their parents because of outdated and biased laws that go against the rights of every Canadian. Again, now this is statistics coming from 2020. So statistics show that 38% of all marriages end in divorce in Canada. The United States is closer to 50% range, which is the third highest in the world. Now, society has changed a lot since the 1980s. Women have evolved into the workforce and deserve to be treated as equals around the world. Human rights are an essential part of keeping peace within the world, the laws, and within the family home. When these rights are being broken or abused by the governments that are, by law, supposed to treat each law system equally, we as a society have to step up and bring awareness to these issues. As a family rights advocate, I have a duty as a father to care, love, and protect my children with everything in my power. This power is being taken away from not only me, but from thousands of parents all over the country. The way the family court system is set up is to have a winner and a loser. There's no denying this. The losers are always, in the end, the children that are impacted by court decisions. Fathers are being accused of sexual assault or domestic violence with no evidence to support this, and the courts are allowing a multitude of children to be kidnapped from their parents. Parental alienation and false allegations are becoming a common theme in the family court system, and the courts are the only ones that can take blame for this. Parents are being allowed to falsely accuse another parent of sexual or domestic violence, and ex parte or emergency motions are being accepted by judges who only have one party's side. There have been countless cases of absolutely no evidence of these assaults, no previous charges for assaults, or any kind of child protection agencies being involved in these cases before they head to the family courts. Now, lawyers and judges have allowed this to continue, and the cause and effect not only has on these parents, but to the children can be devastating. Parents are committing suicide every day because of the way they are being labeled in the family court system. They are being labeled child molesters, rapists, wife beaters, deadbeats, meanwhile being falsely accused by an angry, jealous, and manipulative parent. I have repeatedly spoken about the silver bullet, which I did this morning as well, which is a term coined in the law profession as a tactic a parent uses, more often than not the mother, to gain immediate custody of the children or child. Now, false allegations, reports of abuse, reports of sexual assault, reports of drug use, reports of criminal activity, among many others, are being used as a first step in the family court process. Many of these cases have never even seen the inside of a courtroom before, or like I said, any reports ever being taken. Judges are allowing parents to commit perjury, falsify documents, kidnap their children, and no repercussions are ever handed down. The family court system is ignoring our Canadian rights and freedoms with the unfair treatment that we are receiving daily at the hands of the family court system. Now, I did some recent polls back in 2020, and from what I was getting back, the major issues that mothers and fathers were having at the current time in 2020 was as follows. False allegations are not punishable. Accusers are able to commit perjury on affidavits and court documents to support their allegations, but once they're proven to be false and used to mislead the court, no penalties are ever handed down to the accusers. Child support table amounts should not be based off of gross income, rather net income. With today's ever-rising cost of living and inconsistent wage increases by our governments, many parents cannot even provide the basic necessities to be labeled a fit parent in today's society. 50-50 equal shared parenting should be the starting point for each case going to court. The theory is that if the parents were equally involved in the child or children's best lives before the separation or divorce, then it should continue that way in the best interest of the children. This would equalize many aspects of the family law, including how child support is accumulated. Now, the cost of marriage versus the cost of divorce. A marriage certificate issuance costs roughly about $200 Canadian. Meanwhile, a divorce certificate may cost Canadians tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, the government needs to get a handle on these atrocious fees that a lot of these courts charge for filing or even receiving a simple photocopy. With the recent changes to the way meeting with duty counsel is handled in the courts, many are finding themselves having to delay the court process simply because they can't even afford to file documents or hire a lawyer. And finally, parental alienation needs to be recognized in our court system as psychological damage to the parties being alienated, including and mainly the children involved. Parents who alienate their children towards the other parent are causing severe mental trauma to their children, and the cause and effect on the trauma can have serious effects. These effects can range from depression, suicide, drug addiction, violence, homelessness, and many other psychological effects that happen in parentless homes. Parents who cause this alienation towards the other parent should be sent for psychological tests, required to attend support programs, or lose custody of their children. Family law reform needs to be on the platform of every political party around the world if we want to thrive as a balance and equal society. Until reform in our family courts happens, the problems we face will continue to rise, as we're seeing in the last 4 years. Children will continue to suffer at the hands of the family court, and we will see a drastic increase in many of the issues that are the cause and effect of this system. The only way we can thrive is to make family law reform a priority around the world. We as Canadians are known for our family values and heritage, yet the courts refuse to listen while so many of our children suffer daily. Our politicians refuse to listen. Instead, they are battling for leadership on who is the most popular. It's not even about who can do the best for our country or who can do the best for our kids' futures. We need to smarten up and listen to the voices that are telling us that we need to change. The world is depending on us to lead this cause for family law reform. Lead by example and lead our kids to a better future. Yours sincerely, Richard Massia. Now, I sent this letter to every single politician out in Ontario. Obviously, I sent it to our attorney generals in Ontario and Canada. I sent it basically to everybody you can possibly think of. Now, the 5 points that I mentioned in that, they still have not changed. And I'm going to tell you right now that out of the 5, I have documentation from Doug Downey, who is our attorney general in Ontario. And they completely ignore false allegations. They completely ignore 50-50 equal shared parenting.
Is Richie frozen for everybody else?
Yeah. Yeah. We're just getting to the good part.
Yeah, exactly. Richie, I'm not sure if you can hear us, but we can't hear you. All right, I think Richie's gonna kind of log off. Maybe he just did log off and we'll log back in, but I'm gonna move forward. So tons of people from all over the place in the world. I want to acknowledge you. This is, I'm in Canada, Richie's in Canada. This is clearly a global issue. So I'm glad that you're all here. We've now had people respond from 17 countries. It's flabbergasting how many people are coming forward. We still need to really push hard to create awareness about this rally, because our strength is going to be in our numbers. Right now, we've got it geographically set up. So we've got kind of like each of the Canadian provinces. We've got the Northwest states, the Northeast states, the Southwest states, and the Southeast states grouped, but we'd like to get it so that we have enough people to congregate in each state and in multiple cities in each state. And also, if you're tuning in from Australia, we got people from Queensland, Australian Capital Territory, New South Wales, South Australia, and I'm drawing a blank here. Maybe that's it. But we'd like to have people in multiple jurisdictions. So please, in the last email that went out, there's a bunch of photo assets, and one of our big priorities is to put together a digital toolkit for everybody so that you can start posting with confidence about what's going on with the rally and let people know. For those of you who I haven't met yet, there are certainly some unfamiliar faces on this call. My name is Gavin. I'm the co-founder of False Allegations Canada and a founding member of something called Complex Trauma Canada. Kelsey Green, who's my co-founder for Complex Trauma, is not on the call tonight, but he's very busy. I'm also the founder of Best Interest of the Child, And Richie and I recently put together Lives Ruin Lives. And Richie just kind of put it out into the universe that we are going to do some good things. And we just kind of made it happen. So Richie is the megaphone, but he's not the only megaphone that we need. I'm the kind of guy behind the scenes who's trying to catch up with all the amazing things that Richie does. And it's a it's a daily struggle, and I'm grateful for that struggle. But yeah, we need lots of people to be megaphones as well. Today is February 8th. Today is my son's ninth year birthday. It's been 3.5 years since I've seen him. I'm not saying that to solicit, sympathy from you. I'm just saying it because I get what you're going through. Sometimes we feel like self-care is selfish and that self-sacrifice is selfless, but you need to treat yourself with kindness, and you need to treat yourself with the same dignity and care as someone who you were charged for the care of. So treat yourself like the person who you want to be caring for. It's really important that we're all healthy and strong as we move into this rally. The physical rally is on April 24th. But one of the things that our political strategists talked about when we met with them on Saturday is that the rally starts today. And the rally starts the first day that everybody joins. And if we kind of map things out on a continuum, April 24th being the physical rally date where we all assemble at courthouses and legislatures, we may get the eye of the mainstream media. I think we will have the eye of the mainstream media and the legacy media. I think they'll cover our rallies, and I'm excited about that. But if we look at it on a continuum, it's our efforts that start today. We're 75 days away from that day. And the amount of stuff that we can do on social media in the meantime is going to eclipse the amount of coverage that we're going to get on that day itself. So it's really important that we all engage with our entire platforms to make sure that that we're spreading the word and that we're inviting people to the physical rally. But also that we're creating the awareness online that we need to right now. Big part of that is TikTok. Big part of that is Instagram. If you've got followings, there's lots of digital assets in the last email that I sent out that you can screenshot and invite people to the rally. We're trying to get this to 100,000, and we're just over 1,500 now, so we got a long way to go. So guys aren't good at asking for help, so I'm leaning on my female attendees here, and like, you are good at asking for help. I need to be better at it, but I need all of your help. We need to be fucking megaphones for this project. So please take advantage of some of the digital assets there. We will have a complete digital asset package or a digital toolkit available for download in the next 7 days. We are also working very diligently on merchandise. So country-specific merchandise. We kind of design them similar to like a rock band, like a touring rock band. I don't know if you saw it in the last email, but it's got kind of a picture of your flag on the front, says Lives Ruin Lives, and then all the rally locations on the back. So it looks kind of gnarly. But yeah, I just want to say that you guys are my heroes. You're showing up here, and that's a really tough thing to do. Thank you for taking a little bit of time out of your day. And not only you're my hero, but you are the heroes of every child from from generations to come. We are the ones that are fighting for this, so that we don't deal with the same situations that, or that our kids don't deal with the same situations that we're dealing with right now. So I really want to express a great deal of gratitude for everybody who's here from multiple countries around the world and all over Canada and the US. I'm very grateful for that. No one on the outside knows how much you've suffered. A lot of the people on this call don't know how much you've suffered, but we can get it on a level similar to where you're at. I certainly have a sense of how much you've suffered, although I know that there are people on the call who have been involved with the family law environment for upwards of 35 or 40 years, which makes me kind of a rookie because I've only been involved for 8 years. You know, I need to acknowledge that there's people who have been in this, it's almost like a life sentence. For those of you who I haven't met personally and weren't on the call last week, um, again, my name's Gavin, and I run support and progress calls 7 days a week. And I also train the facilitators who run those calls. These calls are free to join if people have a little bit of money. We charge $9 a month if you can afford it, but that's not what I'm saying here. What I'm saying is I've been doing this for a long time, almost 2 years of facilitation and training of facilitation. And about a year ago, I did a certification course with the United States Veterans Affairs Department. And it's a certification called Provider Strategies for Coping with Burnout and Secondary Traumatic Stress. And this was a program for the psychologists and therapists and psychiatrists and social workers who are working with post-deployment veterans. And what I started to see, like I took the certification originally because when I was training facilitators to do peer support groups, I noticed that there was both burnout and something called empathy fatigue in the facilitators that I was working with after 3 or 4 months of facilitation. And empathy fatigue, if you're not familiar with that term, you can probably figure it out. It's when someone grows tired of hearing these stories. And it doesn't just happen to psychologists and therapists and psychiatrists and social workers. It also happens to you and me, and it happens to lawyers and judges. And you know, at that point in time where you start to experience that empathy fatigue, people start to look at you like a number instead of like a human being. And as someone who's listened to traumatic stories 7 days a week, and you've done this as well, you've experienced your own trauma 24/7, but I learned a couple of things. Most people deal with these situations in one of two ways. And you can think about it like coming to a T-junction, like you're driving down the road in your car and you come to a T-junction, you can either go left or right. Many people process experiences like this through something called vicarious trauma, where they internalize all these stories and they don't process them properly. They feel someone else's PTSD or trauma, and if it's left untreated, they start to burn out pretty quickly. But I learned that there was another choice. And this other choice is instead of the left turn, it's the right turn. And it's called vicarious resilience or vicarious post-traumatic growth. And that's where you take those stories and you learn from them and you grow from them and they become your fuel and they ignite the fury inside you to make change. And that's really important. You can get knocked down by this, but you can also look at it as a learning experience if you're in that space, and use that as fuel to push you and everybody else forward. Because the USVA or the United States Veterans Association was dealing predominantly with PTSD in post-deployment soldiers, I started to wonder if people who were going through high conflict separation or divorce, or who had endured a false allegation, or who had been alienated from their children would suffer PTSD in similar measures to military veterans. Because a lot of military veterans, when they come back from deployment, they lose their sense of purpose. Like they were fighting for their country. They were a part of a team. They were feeling that they contributed on a day-to-day basis. And I found that there was a lot of similar impacts when you had gone through a false allegation. Like you feel a sense of betrayal and you're not a part of a team anymore. You get alienated from your kids and all of a sudden you don't have a sense of purpose anymore. You don't feel like you're contributing anymore. So it really started to like get my wheels turning and wondering if there was some parallels there. So we built a survey which started to examine PTSD in people like us using a PTSD self-assessment tool online. And a lot of people like us don't want a formal diagnosis. Some of you may have already got it, and that's fine. But a lot of people are hesitant to get a formal diagnosis of PTSD because you're worried that that might have a negative prejudicial outcome on you in court. So using this PTSD self-assessment tool was a good path for a lot of people to decide whether or not they wanted to actually pursue a diagnosis. So what we started to find, I basically took that online PTSD self-assessment tool and replicated it in a Google form. And we started to collect the data that came out of it. And what we found was that if you had endured a high conflict separation or divorce, you suffered PTSD at similar rates to a post-deployment veteran. If you had endured a false allegation, you endured something PTSD similar to a post-deployment veteran. If you had endured alienation from your children, you would have suffered PTSD at a similar rate to a post-deployment veteran. But if you have suffered a combination of those three, if it's alienation, high conflict separation or divorce, and a false allegation, the PTSD scores doubled those of post-deployment veterans. Post-deployment veterans' PTSD scores on a scale of 0 to 80 come in between 35 and 40. And we had mothers and fathers who were suffering PTSD at 65 to 72 on a scale of 80, like off the charts. And I guess what I'm trying to say is, I get you. I get your pain. I get your suffering. I get your struggle. And I'm with you. And we're all in this together. We're pushing real hard. And for the 40 or so people who are on this call right now, and there will be more, like, we're the ones that are the leaders in this mission. We're the ones that are going to make changes. They've been trying for a long time. I said this last time, it's too late for us, but it's not too late for our kids. 30 years ago, it was too late for us, because these changes should have happened a long fucking time ago. A lot of people hesitate to do this kind of thing because they have kind of two main fears. Their first fear is losing what they have, and their second fear is not getting what they want. And I think we need to put both those things aside. Need to not worry about losing what we have and not worry about not getting what we want, and just push towards actually achieving the outcome that our kids deserve. I want to acknowledge just a massive influx in registrations this week. I also want to say that so far we are lacking registrations in Canada from Newfoundland and Prince Edward Island. So we really need to engage social and push that out for Canada. In the States, nobody is registered from Delaware, Hawaii, Idaho, Kansas, Louisiana, Maine, Mississippi, Oregon, Rhode Island, South Dakota, Vermont, or Wyoming. And you might not care about these states because they aren't your state, but we can reach them via social media, and we can create a bigger army of everyone that's going to be kind of participating in this process.
Can you repeat those US states, please, so I can make an effort more?
Yep. Delaware, Hawaii, Idaho, Kansas, Louisiana, Maine, Mississippi, Oregon, Rhode Island, South Dakota, Vermont, and Wyoming. Those are no problem. It sounds like a lot. We have 38 states registered in good numbers. So I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Our efforts are good. And for everybody who posted this week, I'm very grateful for you. Richie's very grateful for you. Chris and Terry Lynn are very grateful for you. Thank you for doing that. We need to keep on posting this stuff, especially in the alienation groups on Facebook, or in, with the hashtag alienation groups on Twitter, or on Instagram, or on TikTok. That's where we're going to really start to engage a much larger audience, and we're really going to start to grow this. So like I said, I'm pulling all the numbers together, and so far in the US, which is where we have the most or the highest level of respondents from, we're putting it into kind of like Northeast, Northwest, Southeast, and Southwest, but we'd like to get to the point where we have individual states who have representation of 100 or more who are going to be going to a specific city to make this protest happen. In 4 weeks, we are looking at setting the location. So actually 3 weeks from tonight, we will set the locations for all the rallies. We need a critical mass of people before that. 4 weeks from tonight, we're going to set out the parameters for getting your local permits for your rallies, just to make sure that nobody goes to jail for this. 5 weeks from now, we are going to notify the media that we're going to fuck some shit up. And yeah, and that's kind of where we're going from here. That's all I've got for tonight. I want you to, I don't want anyone to doubt that just because we haven't responded to you by email that we're ignoring you. We're not. We're just getting a ton of fucking emails, and that's very encouraging. And we will get back to you as soon as we possibly can. We're not ignoring you. But I appreciate everyone who's on the call tonight, and I appreciate all of your strength and your resilience and your push. And I love you all. I don't know a lot of you, but I love you all. Love you all.
So Gavin, just a couple questions. Ramona, we'll get to you in just 1 second, okay? Just a couple questions from the chat. Jeanette, she's a former president of communications for Workers of America. Do you need a person to represent Washington State? She's willing to cover Clark County Superior Court in Vancouver, Washington.
Okay, that's amazing. Thank you very much, Jeanette. So one of the things I posted it in the waiting room before some of you guys entered. In the last email that went out, there is a link to the Global Family Law Survey. It's really, really important that everyone fills this out. Please, please, please fill this out. It's going to take 4 minutes of your time, but it's gathering information from all over the world. And it's the first time we've ever collected this kind of data. Data like this is just, it's not accessible anywhere. So it's like how much you've spent on family law, how long you've been going at it in family law. And like once we start to back up what we're doing with scientific data, we've got 2 PhD research scientists who are looking for this information and who are willing to put this into a formalized report to be published. As soon as we get the data, we need a minimum quantum of 500 respondents before the data becomes valid. So share it, share that link with anybody you know who's going through parental alienation or false allegations or high conflict separation or divorce. We need you to share that. At the end of that survey, there's going to be a thing that says, please tell us what your skill sets are. So I truly, truly appreciate like everybody who's volunteered so far. But if we can start to look at people who have skills in organizing assemblies or who are working with working with children's education or whatever, yeah, Trevor, I'll definitely post the link to the survey. Actually, Chris, can you post that? Can you grab it from the waiting room chat and post it, please?
Yeah, I can do that.
The more we know about the skill sets of everybody who's involved in this rally, the more we can start to really allocate duties. It's probably not going to be more than like an hour or 2 a week, but we can start allocating duties to people who are actually good at this shit. I'm terrible at a lot of the shit that I'm doing, and that's part of the reason why we're taking so long to get back to people. But the more we know about your skill sets and your ability to contribute an hour or 2 a week, that would be awesome. So please fill out that survey. And I will also, for next week's meeting, we'll have the full PTSD survey. So if you wanted to do that PTSD self-assessment, you'll have access to that as well.
Okay, and then just one more from Trevor, and then Ramona, you'll be up next. Trevor just asked if we can get more access to videos and info to post.
More access to videos and info to post?
And info to post.
Okay. So there will be, I know I said last week that I was going to send out 7. I've got more media to share. Certainly, when we met for our founders meeting on Saturday, I put all the posts that we'd created up, and some of them had men and women, and the decision was made that we were going to make this all about kids. So all the video graphics were going to be about kids and their suffering, rather than making it about moms or dads or men or women or anything like that. It was all about kids or grandparents, because that seems to be who the general population has sympathy for. So as soon as we have, we're diligently working on a digital toolkit, which will have all of those assets in it, and we can share those with you as soon as that's ready. That will come before next week's meeting, I promise you.
Ramona, you go ahead with your question.
Hi, everybody. Ramona Friesen here, Canadian Children's Advocate with Punished for Protecting. I don't know if you guys have heard of us, but we are actually worldwide. Francesca Amato is the CEO and founder, lost custody of her son, and has written a book and has her own talk show in the States in, forgive me for saying this wrong, Poughkeepsie, New York. And so she appointed me as a Canadian Children's Advocate. So I guess my question is, how can we help best? Because, you know, killing two birds with one stone is more effective. We've got so many little pockets jumping up here. And I have a number of contacts. I've been doing this on a volunteer basis. Some people have been able to afford our services. And just so you know, basically what we do is, I'll just give you a quick synopsis, if that's okay, real quick. So I fled domestic violence 12 years ago. Death threats, many attempts on my life, and my ex-husband was granted custody of our two daughters. And I haven't seen my oldest daughter, who's 20, since 2022. She's got autism. She doesn't understand what's going on. My youngest has been on drugs, 3 suicidal attempts. And so I went back to school and studied justice, psychology, criminology, human trafficking. And so now I do the Canadian Children's Advocacy. So basically what we are doing, we are implementing change. We have some connections with Paul Brandt. Who's the other one? Jan Arden. Some of the bigger names. I'm a musician as well. So we are actually trying to push to do a fundraiser to bring awareness and to also educate people on the fact that I kept, beating my head against the same brick wall going, oh my God, what am I doing? I have all this evidence. I have evidence of my ex, abusing our children, returning to me with fractures and bruises and disclosing what daddy did. And I know it's not gender specific. I'm not one of those, angry, bitchy moms. I'm just saying I work with men as well. There's great men out there, great fathers. This is not gender specific. We've even got LGBTQ. I love and respect and accept everybody. And so where it's at is to say, what about the kids? My 2 kids, your children here, I'm so sorry that you're not able to be. I missed my daughter's birthday as well. Christmas, I understand. That's a deep pain that doesn't go away, grieving the loss of somebody that's still alive. So we are, like I said, we are banding together. We have a gal already that's, she's got autism as well, and she's not been involved through this, but she's done some T-shirts and done all the truckers flags across Canada, across all of the world, actually. So she's already designed those. She just needs somebody to print them up and ready to go. The other side is we're going for May 24th for the fundraising concert, maybe a little bit preemptive, but just to get a hold of the big names and stuff. But basically to say, hey, that's what we're all about. Punished for being a parent. Punished for standing up and saying, hey, enough is enough. I mean, it's one thing for me to get, slammed into the wall with a mattress and unable to breathe or beat the shit out of me. But my kids were helpless and hopeless. And they've gone through that for 12 freaking years. Enough is enough and too much is plenty. So far we've had 2 judges recused, and we've got a gal who's gone to alternate media. So we have a lot of resources to kind of bring to the table. We certainly haven't arrived. I'm not a paper pusher. That's not my strength. Mine is more in the writing, definitely. And I don't let them get away with anything. I do, cruel and unusual punishment. I cite the law. I've studied some law as well. Boom, boom, boom. And so if we could put our heads together, and that's what we're trying to do, is bring awareness so that we're not just kind of all little pockets over here. We're one big en masse entity, if you will, to say, you know what, let's do this together. So God bless you guys. We're here to help.
That's it. Yeah, that's amazing, Ramona. I think I might have missed where you were from. Were you from Ontario?
No, Alberta.
From Ontario? Alberta. Okay.
Alberta.
Perfect. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe we can connect outside the meeting. I'm going to post my email in the chat. Yeah, maybe we can go.
For sure. Let's do that.
Somehow. Yeah, that's great. Thanks so much for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Stop Corrupt Family Courts. Sorry, I forget your name, but yeah, you're next. Go ahead.
Sorry, just bear with me 1 second. I just want to acknowledge Ramona first before we jump on to the next question. I'm sorry for what you're going through, first and foremost. And I just want you to say, like, when Richie and I started to put together Lives Ruin Lives, and when Chris and Terry Lynn and I started working on false allegations and all that kind of stuff, we're not trying to compete with other organizations. We're not trying to take a piece of anyone's pie. we're trying to partner with other organizations so we build a bigger pie for
Exactly.
everybody to eat from. And like, I don't ever want you to
Yeah.
like, I think there's a real opportunity. Like after we get through the family law reform, our next
Mhm.
goal was potentially to go after false allegation day in September, or wrongful conviction day in October. But I think there's
Mhm.
a real opportunity on the May 2-4 weekend that we can, push some support into your organization. And we're not doing this to get rich. We're doing this to make change. So I appreciate you. Thank you very much for all the work that you've done. And I'm glad you're here. Thanks, Ramona.
Thank you. Humbled. Thank you.
Great, sorry
So,
guys, I just put my email contact up there just so that everybody had it. My name is Stephanie Hamner. I am from Colorado Springs, Colorado. So thankful to be here. I am a victim of false allegations from our daughter who has severe mental illness. She was illegally and unlawfully kidnapped by DCS in Tennessee 12 months ago. I'm out here fighting this fight for her. Since then, boy, my eyes have been open. I have funneled money to the corrupt court systems, the corrupt attorneys. I have learned everything and can help a ton of people in regards to U.S. law, constitutional law, tort law, family law. I mean, you name it. I really would love info on the difference between how the laws differ in Canada versus the US. That's one thing. Trevor and I have contacted each other, and I'm like, I can share a lot, but I don't really know. I haven't delved into the Canada law. I'd love to be able to help people and see how it kind of translates over to that area. My daughter suffers from borderline personality disorder. Part of her illness is that she's going to make allegations against anybody that's close to her. Her mental health records were 1,000 pages long. DCS did no investigation. They did nothing. They stole my child, shoved her in another state where she has been physically abused, neglected, you name it, and it has happened to this child. And more recently, 3 days ago, I just discovered that the Youth Villages facility in Memphis, who I've already filed charges against for child abuse and neglect because of the things happening to the 1,000 children that are under the care of these places, was all over. You guys can go search it all over the internet, all over the news, because a 17-year-old female child died less than 90 days ago in the same unit as my daughter. Luckily I was able to reach out to that mom. We're in contact now. I'm like, I can help you. I can guarantee my daughter is a witness to all these things, et cetera, and so forth. But I created this email address, the stop corrupt family courts at gmail.com, because I would love to be able to be in charge of keeping everybody connected. I love networking. I love connecting people. So if anybody wants to send me, I know last meeting it was kind of like hit or miss, and you guys suggested creating your own separate email account. I have done so. I want to be able to create a shared joint spreadsheet, an open document where we can be like, some people, they only have email, or they only have a phone number, or maybe they only do TikTok, or maybe they only do Facebook. That's my expertise area. I can also help people in the US when it comes to intentional tort law, civil law, constitutional law, anything pertaining to that. I did volunteer to be a leader in Colorado Springs, where anybody in Colorado for the April 24th stuff. I also want to let everybody know that I just was told by the mother, the surviving mother of the child that passed away recently due to murder, 17 people murdering her in this facility. They beat her to death. It's on video. The mother saw the video. My child is still in the custody of these people. I've been screaming and kicking for months and months to get my child out of here. And at this point, no charges have been filed. They're still caring for children there. It is a travesty what's happening to our children. I've always known that there was a bigger picture here. God told me this is a bigger picture. It's not just my daughter being harmed. These children need us. It's not just false allegations. It's everything. It's the whole system, you guys. It's got to be brought down. We're all done with it. We're all tired of it. As parents, as grandparents, as advocates, it doesn't matter. Every child needs our help. So I'm here, like, as much as I can do. My world is like legal world. I'm like, I gotta get my daughter home. So I'm wrapped up in this, but I know that there's a bigger picture here. I'm willing to step up and offer anything and all of my knowledge. And I can really, really help people. For anybody who is a parent dealing with a custody battle, anybody who's in a court of law, whether it is civil or criminal in the United States, I can help you. Please reach out to me at stopcorruptfamilycourts.com. Please email me if you want to be added to the joint communication list. I'd be happy to, forward that along so that you can include it in your weekly meetings so that people can be added to it. So that's all I wanted to say as far as my skills and knowledge and what I can offer here.
Sorry, I didn't even catch your name at the very beginning of that. All I got is stuff.
Stephanie, Steffany. It's kind of spelled like Tiffany, and then last name Hamner. Not like hammer, but with an N, M-N.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. So I think one of the things that we started to work on, we got really pissed off at in Canada. It's called Children's Aid Society. In some areas it's called the Ministry of Child and Family Services. But we started to remember at the beginning we were talking about PTSD for caregivers, the people who were dealing with those who were dealing with PTSD. And we started to write press releases about judges who were suffering from PTSD and empathy fatigue, and started to treat them like human beings, but like sick human beings. Instead of attacking them, treating them like they were sick because they'd gone through this for such a lengthy period of time. And we actually got some good traction with it. And I know it's very counterintuitive, but we got some really interesting traction when people started to go like, oh, judges are humans too. Maybe we need to care for them and get them out of office so they can't do any more damage. So just a little bit of perspective there. I don't know if that's helpful, but just wanted to share that. And the second thing I want to talk to you about, specific to your case, but I'm sure a lot of other people on the call will have similar things where there's an allegation made by your child. We are doing a session on February 25th, Sunday, February 25th at noon. And the session is
real quick, noon, what time zone?
Oh, sorry, that'd be 10 o'clock your time, noon Eastern, so Toronto, New York time. So I think it's 10 a.m. your time, on implanted and recovered memories in children. So if you want to come join us for that, you're more than welcome to. You can just actually, I don't think you need to shoot me an email, but we'll make sure that you're there for that. Who's up next, Chris?
Trevor Halsworth from BC.
Hey, Trevor.
Hi there. Yeah, we got a big problem here. It's a huge problem, and it's going to take a massive amount of work. Every lawyer is against us, and every judge is against us. And you have to realize that they are protecting a money stream that is so lucrative that they are not interested in us at all. And they have a monopoly on this situation. And they will ignore all evidence. And so it's a very serious problem. And it is abusing Canadians. It's abusing people all over the world because there's a complete lack of accountability in the entire system. And what we really need is reform at the political level. But unfortunately, the politicians are also in the pockets of the lawyers, and they are not interested in listening to this as well because they're complicit. And the other problem is that lawyers are in Parliament, which means they control the writing of the law. And so effectively, you don't have a voice in your democracy, and you're being ruled by lawyers and judges, and you're being told that this is democracy, but you're being eaten up. And we need to stop going to the lawyers for advice and start solving these problems and get away from this system because it is abusive. You can have a look at my website. I've disclosed the failure in the rule of law throughout the Canadian legal system, all the way from judges not complying with court orders and committing fraud, and judges ignoring the transcript, and a writ of mandamus on the Minister of Justice. And everybody is against us. And that's the problem that we're facing. It's a very, very serious problem. And it's going to take an amazing amount of work, but we need to be realistic. It is about the kids, and it is not going to be resolved in the short term. It is going to take citizens being put back on top of the legal system and monitoring corruption on top where we belong. It's going to take that kind of effort to start. If we just took all the money that was spent on lawyers and injected it back into supporting families, you would start to see some results. But that no one in the legal system is interested in that happening, because they want to bleed us dry and make us work as slaves. And that is the reality.
I appreciate that, Trevor. So there's, I don't know if you were on the call last week, but one of the, so there's a couple of plans of attack that we've talked about with kind of our political strategy team, and the messaging for the rally, both online in advance of April 24th and offline on actual April 24th, is stay out of the courts.
Yeah.
Keeping people or making people aware that the courts will bleed you dry and will make you bankrupt is a really critical message for the media to see and report on. That's where we're able to start to take a little bit of a chunk out of the influence that the lawyers and the politicians have. The second thing that we all have the capacity to do right now is to start either inundating family law firms that don't prioritize the best interest of the child with negative 1-star Google reviews, like really hammering them, so that the next time somebody goes to that law firm, if they see that, and it might just be a form letter that says, this family law firm will take your money and won't prioritize the best interest of the child. It might be.
The problem is that they all will do that, unfortunately.
That's fine, but that's a way to send the message.
Totally.
So that somebody looks at it. We're not using that to our advantage right now. And so writing those reviews is critically important to bring awareness. It's as important as us having a Bristol board sign that says stay out of the courts. If those Google are up there, that's really important. And then the third thing that I wanted to touch on that you mentioned, so in Canada, we have something called Bill C-40, which is in the House of Commons right now, and that's David Milgaard's law. And it's an independent review panel who are not, they don't have to answer to politicians. They don't have to answer to the judiciary. They're independently, proactively reviewing wrongful convictions to get wrongfully convicted people out of jail.
Yeah, and I saw you posted something there, and I put a brief on there as well. And it's a hopefully it gets some traction. We'll see.
I think it's the first domino that could lead to citizen oversight of family courts, citizen oversight of Crown prosecutors, citizen oversight of judges. Because right now, like you said, there's no accountability for anybody. So when you walk into a family court, if you have a jury of 12 that makes this decision, of your peers that makes that decision versus a judge who's already in bed with the system, these are the kind of things that we can slowly do to make changes.
Yeah, no, thanks for your voice. I really appreciate you doing a great job, and I'll keep on the communication. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thanks, Trevor.
Thanks so much, Trevor. Yeah, Single Parent Action Network, you're up.
Hello, good night, everyone. My name is Aretha Clark. I'm the founder of the Single Parent Action Network in Trinidad and Tobago. Our laws may be different, but the issues are the same. I have a 11-year-old, and I've been before the court 10 years seeking custody. Already had custody of my daughter, but I had to fight against a system. I was basically systematically abused, institutionally abused, and I am here as a new person on board with you. I'm willing to work with you all, and I'm for it because I was able to stand against judges, magistrates. I had a high court judge removed from my matter, and people look up to me with the expectations that I'm able to fight for them. So with your group and being involved continuously, I'll be able to help persons within my country. Thank you.
That's excellent, yeah. Oh, go ahead, Gavin.
I just want to say I love your accent. I love the Trini accent. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you very much for your work.
Can you tell us what country you're from, hon, just so we have that?
Trinidad and Tobago.
That's great. Thanks so much. Sean,
You're
you're
welcome.
up. Go ahead.
Hey guys, thank you for all your support yesterday. Gavin, that's all, man. Oh well, I don't know, like I'm just here listening. Just crazy man to say. I appreciate you guys. That's it. I have nothing to say.
Sean, you look a lot better tonight than you did last night in the meeting. Yeah, that's awesome, buddy. Happy for you.
Any more questions?
I'm sorry. I actually have something to say. I was under impression like I was fucking all alone here, but I don't know. Even if my own family member would have done what Chris and Gavin, you guys have done yesterday, so I don't know how to put it in the right word. And Gavin, you did it today also, all the time. So thank you.
Pleasure,
Stuff,
man.
buddy.
Glad to help. Any other questions in the chat, Chris or Tara Lynn?
No, I think that's it, Gavin.
Hey,
Okay.
just for the folks like me who, like, I'm going to go out to Memphis and see my daughter. My daughter has a ton of testimony. I know we're trying to create more media things and things regarding children. Would it be beneficial? I know that one other person was asking it in the chat for us to record. Of course, I record every interaction with her, but it's not necessarily video. So would it be beneficial to record actual testimony of the things that are happening?
It could be, you want to be cautious about putting yourself into a situation where that could be held against you. I think one of the biggest weapons that we have, and Chris and Terry Lynn and I have talked about this at length. One of the biggest weapons we have is the people around us who are peripherally supporting us through this situation. If you've ever gone through a criminal trial, you'll understand that there is an opportunity for the victim to make something called a victim impact statement. But if you've gone through a false allegation, nobody gives you the opportunity to make your victim impact statement. So talking to, like we were originally talking about Chris's parents who went to the wall and like they sold their house, they liquidated their RSPs to try and support Chris going through his process. But like they never have a voice, so to gather victim impact statements, in air quotes, of the people around you who have been supporting you in ways that like they have no training, they have no idea what they should or shouldn't be doing or how to best support you. They're doing their best. So like gathering some of those statements, I think, is really important, in addition to potential statements that you've got from your kids.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for that, Gavin. Terry Lynn just kind of reminded me there was some discussion in the chat about posting Zoom links for trials. So I know we're going to try to get a Mansion platform back up, but right now, if somebody has either a family trial or a civil trial, is there anywhere that we can post that to support those people that are in court?
That's a good question. If you respond to one of the emails that is sent out, and if you are agreeable to me posting your link on the email that goes out to 400, 600, 800, 1,000, 1,500 people, each week, then I'm happy to post your court links there, and we'll see how many people we can get there to support you. Again, for those of you who weren't on a call last week, when I went in for my appeal hearing, and I was very fortunate. I did a lot of kind of publication of it, but I had 104 people that showed up to my appeal, and it had a profound impact on the way the judges behaved, because all of a sudden there's some citizen oversight and some people who are actually watching to see what the fuck these judges are doing. So, yeah.
Excellent. Vitaly, nice to see you, man. Do you have a question?
I just wanted to say that, well, first of all, thank you for everybody. It's really supportive to be on the call and hear everybody. Since I travel around the world, I saw different cases in different countries, and I wanted to emphasize that it really depends on the political situation and agenda, what is happening in the family court system and who is supported and who is not. So that's why, for example, currently I'm in Belarus instead of on the other side of Earth, instead of being in Canada, just away from the trouble where I've been dragged into. So I'm a designer and a developer, and I really want to help in any way I can with my skill set as well. Because I feel like there's no other way but staying together and changing the system. Yep, that's basically it. Thank you.
I just saw someone post misogyny in the chat, and I may be taking this completely out of context. Certainly there is misogyny and misandry that exists in the world, but we're running the data on registrants, and I will say I will encourage the women keep going. The girls have pulled ahead this week. We're at 51.26% women registrants to 48.74% male registrants. It's still a dead heat. This affects everybody. This is not a gendered issue. This is a families versus courts issue, which is what Trevor said before, and I couldn't have said it better. This is about keeping people out of courts in the future. This is good point, Cher. It's definitely a human rights issue, but we're able to, if we're able to keep people out of the courts, if we're able to kind of set aside our gender differences, I think we are going to succeed far more. And men speaking up for the women who are going through this, and women speaking up for the men who are going through this, it becomes a very selfless discussion. And we start to build a lot more credibility when we're able to support, when men are, like, fathers are able to support mothers and mothers are able to support fathers. We come together with this kind of sense of unity, which becomes somewhat impenetrable for somebody who's saying that you're a misogynist or you're a misandrist or you're a deadbeat dad or you're a trailer trash mom or whatever it is, whatever the moniker, whatever the name they give you. When we've got this kind of unified kind of assembly of people, you're going to be far more effective at dealing with that kind of thing. And yeah, as soon as just to kind of elaborate on what Chris was saying earlier on, we built a social. We're in the process of building a social media network, a private social media network akin to Facebook, but just for parents who are going through this kind of thing. And it's going to be called Mansion. We built it once with a separate company, and I'm not going to go into details. It was alive and thriving until we left, and now it's a bit of a disaster. But we will rebuild, and we will have a space where you can post your court dates and where you can connect geographically with people who are around you who are going through this. It's a nice little geographic platform that works very well. So with a little bit of luck and a little bit of funding, we'll be able to have that up and running in the next probably 2 months. So any other questions in the chat or any other questions before we sign off for the night?
I don't think so, Gavin, but yeah, Terry and I were just saying that, our second meeting and where we're all together, and we kind of see a lot of people that were here last week and some new faces as well. So yeah, we have to keep it going. We all have the same goal, and yeah, really nice to see the registrations coming in for April 24th, and yeah, just really happy to be here. I'm really happy to have all of you here. Richie, do you have any final comments? You kind of got cut off when you were talking earlier, but do you want to try wrapping up again?
I don't really have anything further to say. I'm pretty sure everybody probably heard the majority of what I had to say in that letter. Again, these problems haven't stopped. And again, I wrote that in 2020. So, the importance is the unity, as we keep mentioning over and over. That's the importance. That's what I see is lacking out there. We have a lot of different groups that want to point fingers, and that's not what we're all here to do. We're all here to work together, put those things aside, because it's not about men, it's not about women, like Gavin has already explained with what we're seeing with the numbers. So that is something that is put on you so that we don't band together. They want this division, right? So we're smart enough, we're all here moving past that. And I have friends that are men's right advocates, and I have women friends that are feminists. And the things that I always hear about between the two separate entities are that they're always pointing the finger at the other. But what happens in these situations is we always forget about the kids. We're too busy pointing fingers. We have to stop doing it. That's what this is all about, is the unity. Keep sharing everything that you're doing out there, because it's working. I am obviously doing everything that I can. Most people know my situation, so I can only do what I can do, and it's up to all of us. That's really the thing that's lacking, and what I'd really like to see improve for next week is to see more of the sharing of whatever is out there when it comes to April 24th, because that is the day that we need to rise up. So everybody's doing a great job. We were getting a lot of submissions this week when it comes to applications coming in for leadership, especially. So that was good. Like Gavin explained, I went on a live this morning. It was supposed to be last night, but I changed it to this morning, had 700 viewers. Gavin said there was about 400 applications come in. So, that's what we need to be doing. And I can't do it all on my own. So I need some help on that. So, again, when you guys are sharing, everybody's here because I've been in contact with you because of probably TikTok. And we're all in that same element where we're sharing things that are close to us or that we're fighting for. So, it takes really 2 seconds to write in the bottom of the website at the bottom. And I've been pretty much doing that with every single post that I've been putting out there. I would recommend that everybody do that as well, so that, we can get that mainstream voice that we really need, because, again, it's going to take more than just one person. We've heard it numerous times today. We have to all band together, and we'll make this successful for sure. So yeah, that's all I have to say for tonight. I appreciate everybody, and I have gratitude for everybody that has actually taken the stance on making this happen. So until next week, everybody, I appreciate it.
Just before we go,
Hey, Gavin, Gavin, sorry, just before, Richie, can you just share your screen or your handle for TikTok? I know it's Lives Ruin Lives, but do you have another one?
So, and that's what I've been trying to do. So really, every time that I put a post, like I'm posting everything on my own personal TikTok right now, which I've always tried to keep separate when I have, the platform. So everything right now is on my personal. It's Richie Warrior Dad. I'll put it in the chat for everybody before we leave. But that's where most of the stuff is that I'm putting out as far as content. That's where I can go live right now until our other account, Lies Ruin Lives, hits the 1,000 mark. So I need people to be sharing this so that we can get there, and then I can separate my life.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, there's a few people asking about your handle name on TikTok. All
Yeah,
right,
so
Gavin,
that's and that's the thing. Like, so that's my handle. But I'm going to put the other handle because I'd much rather people use the Lies Ruin Lives. So again, I can try and separate my life here a little bit. It does get pretty hectic. Like Gavin said, this has been a busy week, and with the launch and everything, my social media doesn't stop. I wake up in the morning and it takes me hours just to catch up. So yeah, continue sharing, but please use the Lies Ruin Lives account.
Just before we sign off, a couple of last things. Richie just reminded me about pointing fingers. I'm sure you guys have all seen or heard this before, but like when you end up pointing a finger, you got one finger pointed at somebody else, but three fingers pointed back at yourself. And none of it really does any good for anybody to point fingers. Sean's saying four
Hey,
fingers.
can you guys let me know about that parent alienation day, or what were you guys mentioning about September and October?
So parental alienation awareness day is April 25th, and shared parenting day is April 26th. And then false allegation day is mid-September, and wrongful conviction day is October 3rd. But if anybody else, like, we don't want this group to stop after April 24th. It's not like we're grinding to a halt after this rally. We've got people who are passionate about change in the courts. We need to figure out something, not even figure out if you know, May the 24th is the next date that we start pushing towards, then that's what we do. But we've got a voice, and we will continue to make that voice strong and heard. I just saw Keith posted something in the chat. Is there anybody registered for Picton, Ontario? The short answer is no, Keith. You are the only one picked in Ontario, but right now I have you allocated for Kingston, which is the closest point, or potentially Belleville, depending on how many people we have congregating in that area. But again, that's why it's I can't stress this enough. It's really important. Please, please, please fill out the survey. Let us know what your areas of strength are and what your areas of contribution are, and then share. As soon as we get, you know, as soon as the digital assets are up, I'm not saying you can't do it on your own. I'm not saying you can't create your own banners or create your own posts, just like Richie does. But like, once we got the digital toolkit put together, please, please, please share it. We want to hit 100,000 people with this. That's just asking for the survey. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so that's basically it. We just it's for the next 3 weeks, we need to all be Richies. We need to all be driving 400 people into this camp, and and just share with your friends, share with your family. You know, do whatever you can to raise awareness, and that network that you've got around you, that maybe they supported you and maybe they didn't support you because they didn't know how to. Maybe this is an opportunity where you can extend an olive branch to those people to just say, like, hey, maybe you didn't know how to address the situation, but here's where I need your help. And like I said at the very top of the call, as a dude, I'm not good at asking for help. I tend to be a kind of a lone wolf kind of thinker, and I you know, I figure I can just deal with everything myself, and I need to get better at asking for help. So this is me asking for your help. Please, please, please share. Please push this message. Let's keep people out of the courts. Let's push for the best interest of our kids. Next meeting, we will have a meeting like this every Thursday night at the same time, right up until the rally, and we'll have several meetings in the week leading up to the rally as we get to kind of geographically positioned and much larger numbers. So same link, yes, same link as next as this week. It'll be the same link for every single one of the Thursday meetings. So that's you can use the same link if you don't get the email. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Oh, Gavin, just for those that want to save the chat, so in the Zoom chat, just for those that don't know how to save the chat, there's 3 dots at the very bottom. Just click on that and you can save the chat, and you'll have access to all the links that were posted tonight.
Right down below the comments, and there's an emoji logo, and then a piece of paper, and then there's to the right, there's 3 little dots. You can right click that and save the chat if you're looking to save email addresses and that kind of stuff. Obviously we're all volunteers here, and I know people are in a lot of many people are in financial strife. We're, as an organization, as the kind of leaders, de facto leaders of this organization, we're putting a lot of our cash into it. I'm going to post a link in the chat. If anybody has an extra $20 they can send us, we would greatly appreciate it. It helps us to kind of push things forward and keep the autoresponders coming, make sure that we're engaging with people on a meaningful level. So thank you very much for all of your time and attention tonight. Thank you for your passion. Thank you for your commitment. I really appreciate everyone being here. Thank you very much for all the questions. We will be in contact with you at several points during the next week, individually by email. We're going to try and come up with a national leader for Canada, a national leader for the US, a national leader for Australia, a national leader for the UK countries. And maybe we'll get a national leader for Central America. You'll see when you get into the survey, we're looking at people all over the world. Like we want somebody, we want a leader for Africa, we want a leader for Asia. Maybe that's too broad, but you know, we're going to look at now the bulk of the people who have registered so far are coming in from Canada and the US. The UK would be third, and Australia, New Zealand would be fourth. So that's where the lion's share of the people are coming in from, and really just organizing into specific regions or areas is going to be the most important thing for people like Keith, who's in Picton, Ontario, which is somewhat rural. It may be a short drive from where you are now, but we'll do our best to create some awareness and make these things happen as frequently as we can. Aretha, you got your hand up.
Yes, with this survey, I noticed that you had Central America, but you didn't include Caribbean. So when I clicked on the Central America, I could only put other. I couldn't state which island or country I was from.
I'm lazy.
Okay, all right.
I can build it in. You're actually the first person from the Caribbean to fill it out. There is an other section. So if you're not in, like, it says where in the world do you live? There is an other country because I didn't include the Maldives or some of the Antipodean countries. I didn't include the Caribbean. My apologies that there's another section.
That's all right, because I'm sharing it. So people were asking me where there was no section for the Caribbean.
Well, if you give me a day, I will build the Caribbean and then you can share.
Thank you very much. Yes, please.
Gavin, did you say that would be done tonight?
Fuck you, Chris. Fuck you. All right, guys. Thank you very much. Have an amazing night. We'll see you all next week. Share. Everybody get your Richie on this week. We love you all. Thank you very much. Have a great night.